Hi, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec Podcast, where I'll help you create teams worth leading. Life's too short to lead mediocre teams. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, coach and consultant to tech execs just like you, worldwide wanting to create a career they're proud of. Our subject today is not a hamster wheel, and this is because I've been noticing way too often this sort of mindset, and I want to ensure that you're not stuck with the same sort of thinking. Not a hamster wheel is because I've been having the opportunity to talk to dozens, if not hundreds, of tech execs regularly, meaning I have a lot of people who I check up on every quarter or two to see how they're going, past clients, people I've collaborated with, etc. And a lot of times, perhaps even the majority of times, when I start talking to someone, I'm asking, hey, how's it been? How's it going? What have you been up to? People have this default stance, this default mindset of bemoaning what's going on. Like, the same old, still struggling, the hamster wheel, we're still always doing the same stuff, always having issues, always, there's always something, etc., etc. That's the default mode that they have to describe and usually to also think about what's going on. However, because I talk to those people every quarter or two, I actually remember some context. Had I not had that context, I would have assumed, oh my God, this person is completely stuck. This person is in the rat race, in the hamster wheel, always repeating the same stuff. This is a very bad version of Groundhog Day. However, because I have the context, I know that's not really the case. Because what do? I remember what are the things they told me a quarter or two ago that were their main challenges, their main goals. And I asked them, okay, how did this turn out? Did you manage to ship that? Did you actually do this? A lot of the times, they have accomplished a lot of the things they had on their sites during those 3 to 6 months. And yeah, not everything is successful, of course, but they usually make a lot of progress. I remind you, I set myself up to succeed because I usually work with good people, and that means that a lot of the times they make good progress. So when I asked them, what about this? 6 months ago, you told me that your biggest issue in the world was this problem. Like, what would you do with that person? What would you do with that changes in the market? What about that? And they're like, they actually have to wait a second and think, what? Oh yeah, that thing. No, that's fine. We did that. And we seem to always minimize our successes and focus way too much on the problem du jour, not understanding that very likely, no matter how annoying it is right now, this is a different issue, and like many others, we will find a way to overcome it. And the trend, if you look back 6 months, and likely if you look forward into the future 6 months, the trend is a positive one. You're not in a hamster wheel. You're not always repeating the same step. You're making solid progress. Yeah, progress means that there are obstacles. If you don't want to see any obstacle, just remain put. But if you're making progress, sometime along the path, you're going to see some obstacles and you're going to have to overcome these. But in general, if you don't have any obstacles, you're not making any progress. And if you want to just keep on plowing without having to think about it, that's where the hamster is actually useful. I think that's why we give it to hamsters. But if you're actually making progress, chances are you're not in a hamster wheel. And I am stressing this in today's episode because I think it's critical. I think it's really important to communicate with ourselves, be genuine, and know what we want to do, know whether we're making progress or not, because if you don't have that ability, it can be very easy to fall into this trap of not realizing the progress you're making, and that's how you create sometimes some sort of self-induced burnout. Even if you're making good progress as a whole, if you don't take a second to think about it, to realize it, to pat yourself on the back, you're actually risking burning out because you never take a breather and tell yourself, good work, me. We're making some progress. This is so critical because leadership is lonely. It doesn't matter if you have colleagues, doesn't matter if you're a co-founder with other co-founders. A leadership position is almost always extremely lonely. And if your internal conversation with yourself revolves around, oh yeah, same old, I'm always doing the same stuff, or there's always an issue, and you don't couple that with, but that's the price of progress, or you're telling yourself you're not making progress. If that's your thinking, then you're really risking demotivating yourself way too much and way too fast. I mean, if you're actually not making progress, I can understand burning out. I can understand thinking about what you need to be doing. But because most people listening to this content, most people working with me are good people. They have critical thinking. They have the ability of moving things forward. Because most of you all listening are actually doing good work, I know that's usually not the case. I know that you're moving forward. I know that you can do things better. And therefore, I want you to not tell yourself that you're stuck. I want you to regularly think back, where was I 3 months ago? What was on my mind then? And where are we now? And have I made positive progress or not? That thinking, seeing this trend is critical. And I've been repeating so often about the importance of regularly taking stock of what you're doing, how you're doing, of your progress. I have a long form video about my regular takes because I have the daily review, a weekly review, a monthly review, and all of these really help me assess where I'm going. Every morning almost, I see where I was a year ago today, and this really helps me remain in perspective because I see, oh my God, Aviv last year was so worried about that. Who even remembers that issue? And I can see all the progress I've made. And the same applies to you. When I'm like, oh my God, a year ago, I was thinking there's no way we'll be able to move to Italy within a year, and here I am in the new office in Rome, and things are going fine so far. Knock on wood. Lots of wood to knock on here. Sorry, making the camera shake, but that's the way it is. I want you to always take stock and be genuine with yourself. Don't be too harsh on yourself because you're your best friend, you're your best resource, and you need to be frank with yourself. If things are actually not going as well as you'd like, that's fine. You can then be truthful, you can be candid and talk about it, and maybe even get a help. Hey, I'm here, my name is in the show notes. But if things are going well, if you're making progress, even though it's not a ride in the park, even if you have to work on it, that's actually the expected state. That's how startups usually look like. That's perfectly fine. So if that's the case, you don't need to feel too bad about it. You just need to get used to it. I'm sorry. It's not a walk in the park. You have to make work. That's part of the name. But you can make regular, steady progress, and eventually you're going to get where you want to get. Okay? That's it for this week. Remember, you're not on a hamster wheel, and don't tell it to yourself unless that's really the case, because you're gonna burn yourself out needlessly. If you have any questions or comments, my email is always in the show notes. And of course, if you haven't yet, do check out Unplugged with Aviv, where I have a monthly long form session live with you and everyone subscribing, so you can ask a bunch of questions. I do a deep dive into a topic that I think will give you a tangible upgrade to your skills, and many things more to come. Link is in the show notes, and I'll see you here next week.